Hi, this is Sherry with This Bird's Day, and I'm going to do a triple gradient with two nail polish colors only, and it's the Selena Gomez collection, Nicole by OPI. And the first one is Spring Break, nice beautiful pink, and a bright yellow, Hit the Lights, both from this year's Selena Gomez collection. And let's get started. I put my base coat on, and I put 3 coats of Selena Gomez Hit the Lights, the nice bright yellow, gorgeous and bright for the summertime. I put 3 coats and I ended up actually putting a 4th coat on my thumb because it is such a nice light bright color that you can kind of see when there's a little bit of imperfections in it. So the 3 coats covered it just fine. One thing I wanted to mention before is when you do your top coat and every coat after that, you want to make sure that the coat that you just applied dries completely. If it doesn't, then it becomes a little bit smudged and you'll be able to see underneath a little bit more. Next up, I am going to start my first gradient, which I am actually going to combine both of these colors together to get a little bit of a mid-tone so that there's a really nice flow from one color to from the first color to the last color when the nails are completely done. Okay, so to mix the colors, I'm just going to take some of the first one. Pour enough out. I'm going to take some of the second one and pour it out. And then I'm just taking a plastic spoon and mixing them together. Okay, and I'm just taking a little plastic makeup brush or makeup pad, squishy thing, and you dip it in. Make sure you get the stuff that's on the tip off. You do one right across, and then you slowly move down your thumb as you do it again. And there you got a little bit of a change in the color there. Make sure that the very tip doesn't have a lot on it, or you're going to have a line across the top. And then I just go and do a very thin one right on the yellow. Okay, so here after I did mine, I want to keep a little bit of the solid yellow on the very tips of my fingers. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my yellow and I'm just making sure that I paint the light tips so that the very, very tips of my fingers have a nice solid yellow. Because I'm going to go from a solid yellow to a solid pink with everything in between. So maintain that solid yellow on the very top. You don't need very much nail polish because you don't want it to be overpowering, so you just make sure take off a lot of the excess before you go and do that. Before I go and do the next gradient or the last gradient, I want to go from the solid yellow to the solid pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pink and take off a lot of the excess lacquer and just put a little bit of pink at the bottom. So I definitely have a solid pink at the bottom. Then we're just going to take this very little. If I can, and lightly paint a very little bit of pink. Okay, so like I said, it's gonna A little bit funny, look a little bit messy right now, but once it is all done and the other gradient goes on and the nail polish remover takes off everything on my skin, it's going to look a little bit more like it flows. Okay, so once you've applied this last little bit here, you don't necessarily need to make sure that this the final pink is completely dry. It can be kind of dry to tacky, and then you can start and it'll blend in the top part. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm not going to use my brush for this last little bit. I'm going to use the same little wedge I used before. But I'm just going to pour pink out. And I'm just going to use that. So you want to cover, just like all the other ones, really well. And I'm going to take off the tip so that it's not too much of a blunt line. And let's go. One coat up high. And just keep dabbing it until you're happy with how it blends at the very end. Want a fairly prominent pink beginning. Yeah, get closer. Looks really messy right now. Look better in a moment. There. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It goes from yellow to an orangey down into the pink and then ends up with a little bit more of a solid pink. I did this originally with pink at the nail tips going down to yellow, and I'll post a picture of that one, but I actually like this one better with the yellow on the bottom. It really looks, the mid-tone looks a lot sharper. So that's that, and I will be back after the top coat. Okay, so I've cleaned off most of the nail polish off of my skin, and I'm about to apply my top coat. I'm going to give it a couple hours before I take the photos that are going to go along with this video, because I find that a lot of the nail polish that's left over my skin will just come off within a couple hours. Once it's dried, it'll just peel right off. So that is that, and I will include some photos as well. Thank you very much for watching. I will put on the final coat, give one last shot, and I'm done. Thank you.